On the morning of January 6, 2021, my primary assignment was to cover then President Trump's rally at the Ellipse. I had walked down the National Mall from the US Capitol and was taken aback by the size of the crowd. It was jarring to say the least because it had been the most amount of people that I had seen gathered together in one place since the start of the pandemic. You could definitely feel the tension in the air throughout the entire rally. Many people were chanting about how the election was stolen, saying how they wanted to march on the Capitol to voice their displeasure, which they obviously did.
How about we make it happen if Trump doesn't win? Hey, you son of a bitches. If Trump doesn't win, let's fucking hang him.
As I arrived on the West Terrace, I had seen people pushing past barricades. I just instinctively put my riot helmet on and my gas mask, and I remember thinking to myself, I can't believe this is happening right now. And quite honestly, with seeing how prepared and looking back on now how prepared some of the Capitol Police officers appeared to be, they also were probably thinking the same thing as well.
I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything. Don't spray me. Don't spray me.
Sprays them. There are bangs, and these are smoke canisters being set off by the police. You're hurting women. They're just spraying people in the face. Can't get them. She's love you. We don't want to hurt you. We love you. We don't want to hurt you. What you guys just witnessed was unreleased footage of January 6th. And what I'm about to tell you is something that a lot of you guys are not going to be ready to hear or understand or even process. And that's okay. I wouldn't be Spike if I didn't make some of you navigate that experience. But I want to do this differently this time. I want to give you a moment to tap out. Right now, tap on out. Because what I'm about to say is something that I want you to consider, I want you to sit with, and I want you to process before you react. I don't want to argue. I want to have a discussion. In order to discuss things, you need to be versed not only in your emotion about it, but your understanding of what I'm about to say. Understand that I already created this post. I slept on it. I redid it. For those of you who are still here, let's discuss. What you're witnessing right now is something that a lot of you guys are seeing for the first time from your own perspective. The very first things that this man says is that he showed up in riot gear. A man does not show up in riot gear who isn't prepared to riot. That's the first meeting of the minds. The police showed up ready to riot. The civilians did not. Take all the time you need with that. The rally, the protest, in my humble opinion, appeared peaceful until it was provoked. Who provoked the protesters? Pushing the conversation forward, this is what I see in this video. I see American civilians who are upset at the way that their country is being ran, and rightly so. I see American civilians exercising their right to protest. Doesn't matter how you feel about that. Every civilian who votes has the right to be emotionally invested in the country that they are participating in. These American civilians were exercising that right. There was a controlled force that showed up to riot, and so they did. The reason January 6th is so important and a milestone, not for us, but for them, for the first time, you had blue arguing for the establishment. Pause and hear what I just said. American civilians who believe that the civilians who showed up to protest on January 6th are criminals. They deserve to be locked up. They're hoodlums, gangsters, thugs. These January 6th civilians are being painted. Much like the angry civilians who were being painted during Black Lives Matter. Pause. This is how this is done. And now what we're seeing is the pendulum shift. Once you've beaten one side into submission, red, you've got to work on the other side. And you do that by painting the other side as the enemy. The end goal, my friend, is to have all of us in submission. Period. Where you've been bamboozled is believing that this power that you believe is so for you is when it isn't. Trump understands this now. What's happening to Trump is important because for the first time, Trump is experiencing white supremacy. Pause. Understand right now that you are not white, no more than I am black. These are labels that they've applied to cattle. They've put that cattle in a jar and they've shaken it up. That's all that's happening. And the end goal is to force all of the cattle into submission. This is a show. American civilians were held in prison for a year, maybe more, for speaking up by a government that they empower and pay. You're being played. We are being played. And white supremacy is no different than black supremacy. It's just supremacy. The powers that be want to be supreme over you. And they've made you believe that you're white. They've made us believe that we're black. And they have taught you to believe that I am not only scared of you, but to be scared of me, and vice versa. That's how this works. This is about you submitting to them. Period. Trump's going to jail. I think what happened on January 6th is that Trump saw what Michael Jackson saw. When you have too much power, too much control, whether you become a threat to the world. I think that's it. Sit with what I just said. Disconnect from your emotion and understand that we in danger, girl. January 6th was the powers that be telling us you're not in control anymore. If you speak up, I don't care who the fuck you are, you'll be detained.
Nice smoothie, though.